Unspoken Issues.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Unspoken Issues podcast. We threw out another poll there. As a matter of fact, this was Chris Armstrong that came up with this poll idea. And yeah, you would think I would have been smart and grabbed the poll results for this one, because we're going to be talking about Nightwatch, and I did not get the poll results. Got the other ones.
I can look her up.
Yeah, I'm curious.
I actually forgot it was one of my polls. I was thinking this was one of the 96.
Same here. I thought it was too. It's not. And I think I might have confused you, because a while back I was like, oh yeah, we got a 96 number ones, and it's Nightwatch is the one that won it. And no, because Nightwatch came out in 94. So...
But yeah, I've got it here. Marvel and DC pushed out a lot of new heroes in the mid-90s that didn't leave a huge mark, but every character is somebody's favorite. Which number one do you want to hear about on an upcoming episode? So I picked two. Basically, the idea was somewhat obscure 90s character debuts.
Mm-hmm.
So I picked two Marvel and two DC. Annex number one, Gunfire number one, Nightwatch number one, and Tachyon number one. And Nightwatch pretty much ran away with it.
Yeah, they did.
Got 63%, I think, of the votes.
Let me just get your first thoughts right out the gate of what you think about the character of Nightwatch.
Well, I don't have a whole lot to go on. So he debuted in, I guess, late 93, maybe early 94. So I was still in the comic collecting market until around the time this first issue came out.
Mm-hmm.
I vaguely remember when he showed up, and I was curious about his origins and stuff. So before I read this for the podcast, which I'd never read before, I also went back and looked at his first appearance, which was Web of Spider-Man
97.
Well, I was going to say his first appearance as Nightwatch was in Web number 100.
Okay. Oh, gotcha.
Spider armor cover.
Okay.
With the green holographic sort of background.
Yeah.
Yeah, his first appearance as a character was earlier than that. He wasn't Nightwatch until apparently issue 100. And I was going to read, because that's a 4-part story that concludes in issue 100. But I just didn't have time to go back and read all three. I did read Web of Spider-Man 100, which I had never read before, which was kind of interesting. And that's where he first shows up. And then at the end of Web 100, it says it's got a Nightwatch backup story that reveals his origin.
Okay.
And then it says the adventure of Nightwatch continues in Web of Spider-Man Annual number 9. So I looked that up. And there's a Nightwatch backup in there.
Okay.
And that also retells his origin. And then issue number 1 that we're about to cover retells his origin. So I've read his origin 3 times in the last 24 hours. But yeah, I didn't know much about him. I remember him being the Spawn lookalike, which is kind of I think you'll have more to say about that. But which was kind of interesting. I think he showed up in Maximum Carnage. And that might have been the only book I'd ever read that he actually shows up in before now.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think the first encounter I ever had was reading Maximum Carnage for the show. I'd never sat down and read the whole thing until I did a podcast. Source Material did a podcast on that, and that's actually going to be airing, I think, in June. I'm re-airing, and it's a total of I want to say I split it into 8 or 9 episodes, so it goes all the way across a week, but they're all 20-minute episodes. Back then we cut it in half. We did 2.5 to 3 hour shows on Maximum Carnage, which was just a lot. I learned a lesson back then, and that is why I don't do that anymore. But yeah, so I've cut it up, but it was the first time I ever ran into Nightwatch. I had no idea this character existed. I had never read anything with him in it, and maybe saw a couple things before going into that about him being the Spawn knockoff. So yeah, that was the first time I think I ran into Nightwatch. Now, I never went back into reading much more after that.
Never did that deep dive.
Nope. But just to kind of give you an idea, and you may have seen this, there are a total of 31 appearances of Nightwatch, apparently.
More than I would have thought.
Yep. One of which also is in an issue of Beavis and Butthead.
Oh, wow.
I don't know how or what kind of silliness how that occurred, but yeah, there's one of those appearances is in Beavis and Butthead, the comics. So yeah, I very little experience reading anything with Nightwatch in it aside from Maximum Carnage, and then reading the first issue today to be prepared for the podcast. I will go ahead and say that I was pleasantly surprised about the origin part of it. When I say pleasantly surprised, this is the kind of stuff that I dig.
Yeah.
I enjoy me some time travel shenanigans and stuff like that. So this was kind of like, now I'm starting to realize how lousy like a lot of comic book stories were back in the 90s with this kind of storytelling, or this, I should say, this type of plot device is probably the best way to put it. So a great storytelling, a great story could come out of that. It's just, boy, there was a lot more of it than I actually thought. I didn't realize.
This is a kind of a unique version of it, though. When we get into his origin.
So yeah, as far as my notes, the Nightwatch was created by Terry Cavanaugh, Derek Yaniger, and Alex Saviak. And I think that was accredited to the Marvel fandom page there. This issue came out in April of 94 that we are going to get into. Cover dated April 94. On sale date, February 22nd, 1994. Title of the story is Life on the Edge. Written by Terry Cavanaugh. Now, mind you, this is about a year and a half after his first appearance. He's been around for a little bit. Most of his stuff is happening over in the Spider-Man books in some fashion. And then they were like, okay, we're going to give him a #1 issue and see how we can do with a unlimited series here. And I don't think Terry Cavanaugh, I don't have the litany of what he had done prior.
Seems like he's popped up a lot in the last year or so on episodes we've done.
But I will say the penciler is one of my absolute favorite artists. Ron Lim comes in and is penciling this thing. Fantastic artist. I've always respected everything that this guy does. And of course, I started recognizing what he could do when I was reading Infinity Gauntlet. Absolutely love him. And Al,
one of the original L boys.
That's right. He is an L boy. I forgot all about that. And then our inker, Al Milgram, big name. You got a solid powerhouse here of penciler and inker for this book. And lettered by Steve Dutro, colored by Joe Rosas, which another name that I recognize as well. So without any further delay, I'll go ahead and hop into the summary here. Do you have anything you want to say before we get into that, though?
Nah, go ahead.
All right. So, I wrote this, wait a second, let me correct myself. I put this summary together, probably, I read the issue, like, I want to say it was like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and through the summary on there, let's see how much I got. The summary gets correct here. In Nightwatch #1 from 1994, the mysterious vigilante Nightwatch, secretly Dr. Kevin Trench, a man officially declared dead for nearly a decade, glides over New York, reflecting on his powerful, enigmatic suit before responding to a violent prison break at Rikers Island, led by the mercenary group War Force. I think that's the name of the group, right? War Force? I can't remember if that's a dude's name or...
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, all right.
Salvo is the leader.
As Spider-Man arrives, he was already there as Peter Parker, to help contain the chaos and subdue the gang's henchmen. Nightwatch pursues their leader Salvo, who's escaped by helicopter, sparks a high-stakes chase that forces Nightwatch to prevent a catastrophic crash in Times Square. The confrontation triggers a flashback revealing Trench's origin. 10 years earlier, he was saved by a dying figure in the same suit, only to discover it was his own future self, prompting him to don the costume and attempt heroism, which tragically led to the apparent death of his love, Ashley Croy, during a hijacked flight. Back in the present, Nightwatch defeats Salvo by shorting out his weaponry. In a morally gray move, also strips and absorbs the tech into his own arsenal before resolving to take control of his fate and uncover the truth about Ashley's survival. As Spider-Man warns he'll be watching him, the issue closes with a tease of deeper conspiracies and a shadowy enemy vowing revenge. That is Nightwatch #1. Anything important that I left out? I remember the whole Ashley Croy thing. Like, he was trying to stop her from getting on a plane, if I remember correctly, right. And then all of a sudden, like, I really didn't understand what the heck was happening when his future self popped up. But tell me if I get this right. It was a situation where he's running like onto the runway, and all of a sudden he starts like getting hit by invisible hands.
Correct.
And then his future self pops out of a portal and stops whatever was attacking him and then dies.
Correct.
All right. I wanted to make sure I remembered that right. A lot of questions there. I don't know what the heck is going on. I don't know if we got some kind of invisible enemy that's gone back in time and caused, I would assume, Nightwatch to go back in time as well. So anyway, I'll turn it over to you here before I get into my notes, and I'll probably end up crossing some of them off here as you go through them. What's your thoughts here, man?
I'm usually a fan of the 90s era debut characters: Darkhawk, Sleepwalker, Danny Ketch, Ghost Rider, Thunderstrike.
Yeah.
I guess kind of debuted as Thor in the 80s, but this is one that I've never really been into because most of his exploits took place while I was not really reading comics and for a year and a half or so there in the mid 90s. And he's always, like, ever since then, any mention I see of him is usually in a sort of a joke manner of the time Marvel ripped off. Right. And I can certainly see why people think that. But this isn't a bad issue. It's got some of the staples of like a 90s #1 where you've got some random cyborg type or cybernetic type mercenaries as the bad guys to give the hero a chance to show off his abilities and stuff.
Yeah, a lot of like, you got a #1 issue, you got some new characters you want to introduce, and why don't we throw in some new villains while we're at it here?
Yeah, with Spider-Man in there, especially if he's already got a history with this character.
Absolutely. Isn't there a point where like Salvo like kills his girlfriend in order to get away or something?
Yeah, he says something about how she makes a good shield.
Yeah.
It's weird because, like, you would think that would be like a situation where, like, a bad guy's holding a character in front of him to absorb, but she's just standing in the doorway of the helicopter while he's piloting it a few feet away. Like, I'm not sure how. I don't know. It's weird, but I think it at least shows that he does not give a shit.
No, he doesn't.
And she falls to her death if she's not already dead from the gunshots.
Right. So you got some new villains, and you want to make them extra villainy. Salvo, I don't know if Salvo's coming back or not. He may come back.
Did you look these characters up? I'm assuming this is their first appearance, but I didn't check.
Ooh, no, I don't think I did. I think so. Yeah, let's see if Warforce, Salvo. I cannot remember the other names.
Yeah, they make a point to name pretty much all the characters and even give hints to their origins and abilities and stuff. I'm not seeing anything under Salvo and Warforce. Let me try and add Marvel into that.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's a fandom for Warforce. Earth 616. First appearance, Nightwatch #1, and one appearance of Warforce. Yep. So Salvo's got to be, like, okay, let's see the members here. Yeah, there's the leader, Salvo, and he has a link, so let's see what we get. Barrett Gage, first appearance, Nightwatch #1. 2 appearances for Barrett Gage, though. Let's take a look and see what we got here. He shows up. Oh, he does show up back in, looks like, issue #7. So he is going to make, but, well, that's about 6 months later, this guy's going to be coming back into the pages of Nightwatch, and then that's it. Doesn't say that he dies or anything, but
right.
If you wanted to do, like I said, 31 issues, if you wanted to do the whole thing of Nightwatch, it wouldn't be too hard.
There's only 8 issues, I think, of this series, right?
It's pretty small. So, yeah, a lot of it's Web of Spider-Man and those issues of Maximum Carnage and stuff. And then I think what happens is we get to the whole She-Hulk thing.
Right.
I'll go ahead and bring it up now because I guarantee you I'll forget. If anybody gets the chance, go and check out She-Hulk Volume 3, let's see, number 12? Let me see if that's right. Okay, I'm sorry. So, She-Hulk Volume 3, number 6, 11, and 12. And Volume 3, number 6 came out in 2014. So, prior to that, he's in Spider-Man Unlimited number 14. He was also in like something of the Marvel Universe, but I'm sure that was like a handbook or something. Yeah, that was October of '96. Spider-Man Unlimited number 14. So History of the Marvel Universe #1, which has got to be like a handbook of some sort or whatever. He drops off the face of the earth after October of 96 and then 2014. So we're talking, what is that, 18 years? Doing 18 years where they were just like, oh boy, this was either a failed experiment. Some characters just didn't take off.
Yeah, they just sort of get left by the wayside.
Right. Well, I interrupted you there. Did you have some other notes there? We went down the Salvo rabbit hole.
Yeah. And they make good cannon fodder for him to show off his powers and stuff. And then Spidey's also there to help out, which, again, happens a lot in these early, like, debut issues of these other characters. Swapping a little bit from Predator as well as Spawn with the heat vision thermal imaging of his FTC's people. There was a really weird... Yeah, when he gets blasted by Salvo... He screams out, "Year!" Like, I would think it would have been a Yarg, maybe, but there's no, like, GH at the end. So it's like he's yelling out. I literally thought, was that him completing a thought?
Yeah.
Like, this is the worst fight of the year. And then I had to go back to the previous page and make sure. No, that's just the way he screamed it out. We did get a Salvo, what a jokester, whenever he throws Nightwatch ends up going into the drink there, and he says, "What goes up, hero, must come drown."
Oh, wow.
A real Bevins line.
Yes, it is. Where is he at? My gosh. He went back in time and secretly changed his name to Terry Kavanaugh.
Again, we've got, at the end, we see Spidey giving out some advice, very reminiscent of his early appearances in Darkhawk and probably some other issues of new characters from the 90s where he's sort of the old statesman, the old veteran,
right,
giving out advice.
He's kind of breaking them in a little bit and saying, hey, all right, youngster.
Overall, pretty good issue. I'm glad Ron Lim's in here doing this one. He did a lot of these in the 90s where it was like, they would throw him in onto Venom when they did that to the first couple issues of that miniseries, Lethal Protector, and the Spider-Man Unlimited. He was doing that. I think he was a guy that kind of like Mark Bagley that could really work quickly. So probably did more than his fair share of books every month. Mm-hmm. And this, interestingly, he's credited as breakdowns and Milgram with finishes.
That's true.
I think is a little different than just pencils and inks, although I'm not 100% sure. But I feel like breakdowns are a lot looser and leaves a lot more work for the inker to polish off.
Gotcha.
Milgram, I think, is a pretty highly regarded one, and this looks like classic Ron Lim art, so they both did a really good job.
Yeah.
The only other thing I really had, there's a page after the finale of the story that has the covers for the next 3 issues with what honestly feels like a desperate plea from editor Eric Fine, like, please buy these comics. Did you read this page?
I don't think I saw it. I'm just double checking to make sure.
It's like what would be like a letters page, but they don't have letters. It's just like, it says, greetings.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I found it.
Welcome to the first issue of what promises to be one of the most exciting, action-packed superhero books of all time.
All time.
Nightwatch.
All time.
Well, you're really setting the bar high on your first issue, bud.
Yep.
It's decent enough. There's all these new characters. They're talking about Flashpoint, the Mechamorph, which I'm assuming these guys appeared once in Nightwatch and never again. And there's Warrant, who I believe was a Web of Spider-Man character. He had a trading card at one time. I know that. I don't think I've ever read anything with Warrant.
Wow.
But yeah, if I come across issues 2 through 8 in a quarter bin or maybe even a $1 box, I wouldn't be opposed to. I would read them if they were on Marvel Unlimited, but they are not. So.
Yeah, you were saying that
there are a couple of issues. I believe it's the issues that have Venom guest starring in them.
Okay.
That are on the Marvel app. Because I think the way that Marvel app works is that anytime something gets collected into a trade paperback, like older books that get collected, they'll just go ahead and put those on the app because they're digitizing them for the trade anyway, I assume, is why they're doing it that way.
Gotcha.
But they don't have any reason to digitize Nightwatch 1, 2, and 3, so they didn't get uploaded to the app.
So, just to answer some burning questions here, Travis Slane, otherwise known as Flashpoint, 2 appearances. His name is Travis Slane, apparently. 2 appearances in Nightwatch #2 and #3. And then our 3rd issue, Mechamorph. Let's see here. he's not listed as it says items mechamorph in the Marvel Phantom, so it must be some type of like, the villain of this one is Alfred Morelli. And that sounds familiar. Who is that? Alfredo?
I think Morelli is the name of the company that he has some kind of issue with, right?
It looks like I think he has a beard. I'm going to send you a picture of this dude and tell me who you think that. Who does that look like?
Oh, wow. It looks like a in-shape Kingpin.
It does, too. All right.
I want to say his lady friend, she was going to go work at Morelli Pharmaceuticals on that chartered flight that gets hijacked and she apparently dies in.
Oh, okay. All right.
So that must be the bad guy he's dealing with later on.
Interesting. Well, let's see if I have any notes. You've touched on a lot of it. The one thing that I really dug was our time loop kind of origin here. Is that the origin that they've shown all 3 times that you were?
It's basically exactly the same with the same dialogue.
Wow. Well, yeah, I think it's, like you said, it's kind of a cool twist on things. Like you pull the mask off. Oh my gosh, it's me. And I'm going to die. What's going to happen? Our suit is not, it seems to be alive, but I think it's more tech than it is magic in any way. There's a lot of questions when it comes to the suit that he's wearing.
Yeah. He gets it from his future self or whatever, so he doesn't really know much about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's another thing that links it to Spawn, of course. The Spawn suit is sort of alive, and so now he's got a suit that looks kind of like Spawn's and is kind of alive. So.
Yeah. It's hard to distinguish between the two. And when Nightwatch first appears, so the character Web of Spider-Man 97 was December 92, which means the Web 100 is probably beginning quarter of 93 sometime, like March of 93 or something. So, yeah, I mean, Spawn has just been out for...
the cover date for Web of Spider-Man is May 93.
Okay, so that's
probably... Web of Spider-Man 100, so about a year after.
Yeah, I'd probably say about a year. It's tough to kind of like not be pointed to as like you are a copy of what this is, and the design is still freaking cool. Honestly, like when you look at his costume, I focus more on the mask. I think the mask looks awesome, and I understand how you could draw parallels to that to Spawn, but still, I don't know. Maybe you could get away with saying, okay, it's not, but regardless, I dig the way the costume looks, and I love the idea of Marvel having a Spawn adjacent character, at least, because it's maybe some of the closest stuff that you can get to seeing Spawn in the Marvel Universe. Ron Lim, yeah, you can't deny Ron Lim here and what he adds to the book. It's brilliant. I absolutely love it. The Spider-Man appearance, of course, it's almost one of those things that became a meme at some point for the 90s. It's like, if you had an ongoing book, if you wanted to bring it to life again, throw Spider-Man in there, or the Punisher, or Ghost Rider, or Wolverine's going to show up. It'll give some life to the book. So all those things are things that you kind of touched on already. I did want to talk about real quick, this was in the document that I shared with you and Evan. Apparently there was a thoughts on a Nightwatch movie.
I saw that on Wikipedia. I didn't read your document because I wanted to force you to tell me about that stuff on the podcast. But I did see that apparently there was a rumor of a Nightwatch movie in the late 20-teens, and Spike Lee was mentioned, and he said no.
Yeah.
He said, I don't know anything about that. So I don't know. Maybe I don't know where the source of that is, but it seems like a stretch to do a Nightwing.
Right.
Or Nightwatch movie.
Nightwatch, right. Yeah, I don't know if any of that would be...
McFarlane might have had something to say about
there
that.
Definitely would have been words at that point. Like, as soon as you started talking a movie deal for this character or something, yeah, McFarlane would have been, I don't know, Nightwatch? What is a Nightwatch? All right, well, I don't really have much else other than what you've kind of already pointed out there. And I wanted to go that document that I did the deep search like for freaking with using Notebook LM.
Yeah.
Let me just see if there is anything, because I did do, like, I had it focus on what the reception of Nightwatch is, and I'll just find it and read it. And
Was there anything in there about, like, was there a lawsuit threatened?
Let's take a look. You would think that there would have been.
Or I didn't know if McFarlane had ever commented on it or anything like that.
Let's take a look. The Spawn comparison, industrial rivalry, and aesthetic parallels. Here you go. The most significant hurdle in the reception of Nightwatch was the near unanimous perception of the character as a derivative copy of Todd McFarlane's Spawn. The similarities were extensive and occurred in an industry climate that was highly sensitive to the rivalry between the established Marvel DC duopoly and the upstart Image Comics. There was a lot of competition going. These guys left that company to go create their own stuff, and then this company that they left was like, dang, that's a good idea. Let's go ahead and use that. And I would be really upset if I was Todd McFarlane, because now, granted, the heat and like the absolute like bombast that Image Comics was in the beginning probably outshone a lot of what Marvel Comics could do, but Marvel Comics held that number one spot as far as market share, if I remember correctly. I think they held that for quite a while. So if they go and use a Spawn copy and people are... McFarlane's probably worried about the reach that Marvel Comics has to reach other people and make... I wonder about the guy who thought Spawn was a copy of Nightwatch. Yeah. If there's people out there that's like that, because all they did was read Marvel Comics and they had no idea. They could not have picked up a Wizard magazine and not know Spawn was something. So I don't know what hole these people lived in, but you know what I'm saying, like, if you were just a Marvel guy all the way and wasn't doing nothing but picking up stuff off the stands and had no idea that Image Comics existed, yeah, I could see. But Todd was probably, let's just see if there is any mention. Visual and conceptual overlap. The visual parallels between Nightwatch and Spawn are undeniable to contemporary readers. Both characters utilized a black and white color palette for their primary costume. And red, too. Red's got to be mentioned here. And it does say a dynamic red cape that appeared to have a life of its own. Conceptually, both characters were African-American protagonists who were effectively returned from the dead. Simmons through a pact with hell, and Trench through an encounter with his future corpse. Critics and fans often labeled Nightwatch as Marvel's Spawn, a term that carried both descriptive and pejorative weight. Retrospective analysis suggests that while the powers were scientifically grounded, the visual presentation was a direct attempt to capture the McFarlane aesthetic that had proved so lucrative. This led to a bifurcated reception. Young readers who were enamored with the extreme style embraced Nightwatch as a local alternative within the Marvel Universe, while older or more cynical readers, that might be me, viewed the character as a corporate knockoff designed to maximize revenue during the speculator bubble. It does go into an issue by issue, and apparently, you said 8 issues. This has it listed at issue 12, The Exile's Return. So I think... 12 issues. Let's see if there's anything else here. Crossovers in the extreme.
Here's something that, as I'm scanning through this, I remember from his appearance in Spider-Man Unlimited number 14, which I remember, I've got this issue. It was one of the first issues I remember getting, like, when I was back in the comics.
This is his last appearance, because that's the one that's, like, before the big, long break before She-Hulk.
And I've always, for a long time, I've remembered him dying in that issue. But then I saw where he was in She-Hulk, so I thought, well, maybe that was somebody else. Maybe I was wrong. But no, it says the death was noticeably unceremonious for a character who had recently headlined his own book. He was tracked down by a mercenary. Basically, he was tracked down by a mercenary who used magnetic power to strip him of his suit, leaving him vulnerable, was then shot in the chest. While Trench used the last of the suit's energy to attempt a final jump through time to warn his younger self, completing the loop once more. He was considered definitively dead in the present timeline.
Oh, wow.
Kind of interesting.
Yeah. I'm just kind of looking through here just to make sure there isn't anything else. I'll read the final observations on the nature of Nightwatch to cap this off before we pick a panel.
Sure.
Nightwatch represents a unique synthetic creation within the Marvel pantheon. He was born of industrial necessity, lived through the peak of comic book speculation, and was eventually deconstructed by a new generation of writers who used his flaws as a narrative strength. His journey from a Spawn ripoff to a complex blankety blank blank, because I don't want to spoil anything, is a testament to the flexibility of superhero continuity. While he may never achieve the mainstream popularity of Spider-Man or even Venom, Nightwatch remains a fascinating artifact of comic book history. He is a character that died to save the future, a dual legacy that makes Kevin Trench one of the most morally complex and structurally interesting figures to emerge from the 1990s. Whether he appears again as a hero or continues his path as a blankety blank, the character's ability to spark debate and inspire reinvention ensures that he will truly never be forgotten by the industry that birthed him.
Good stuff. I do kind of want to read those She-Hulk issues.
There is some
interesting.
I am actually really interested. There's only like 3 or 4 issues that kind of deal with it, but I feel like it is somebody taking advantage of what the legacy of Nightwatch was, and then using that to make a really good story. And gosh, who was writing those issues? Because I feel like
you said Charles Soule.
That's a name I recognize. So I'd be interested in read them too. All right, let's get into picking a panel. I'll go first. So the panel from Nightwatch #1, I am going to go with the moment where he's standing over Salvo's body after he acquired, because that's pretty neat. His suit actually takes Salvo. I don't think we did a great job describing who this guy was, but he was this guy that had like, he could pop guns out of his skin or out of his armor or something, and he was very technologically enhanced, and he was called Salvo for a reason, because he could just, like, it seemed like guns would just come out anywhere. Nightwatch uses his costume to absorb like the technology that Salvo had. So at the end of that, after he does that, he's standing up. He's got armor all up and down his arms now, and it looks pretty cool. Salvo just kind of lays there. He's got to take 6 months off for a little bit. Come back in issue 7. But that's what I'm going with there. I don't know what page that is, but it's the one panel where he's just kind of standing over Salvo, as he has now absorbed whatever he could absorb.
Yeah, his new gauntlet, sort of, yeah.
All right, man, what about you?
I'm going to go, this is page 8, and it's the first panel. Let me pull it up so I can. It's when Salvo is blasting Nightwatch. I keep saying Nightwing. Nightwatch with that blast, and he's screaming out, "Year!" And I like that. I like the use of colors that kind of gives it like a real like power blast, like a negative color palette, sort of kind of weird looking. But I like that one. It
is strange. I don't know who's doing the lettering here. I don't know if it's the artist or if it's the letterer. I have no idea. But if there was, ER would have been good. Put a dash in between there. Sure. I could understand that. ER, but yeah, somebody's going to think that it's an actual word. Like, you can't look at that and go, he's yelling year for some reason. Well, anyway. All right. Well, there it is. There's Nightwatch #1. We did it. Thanks to everybody out there on the Unspoken Decade and the Unspoken Issues podcast who participated in the poll and chose this one. We're going to have a lot more polls as days go on, so kind of keep an eye out for those. With that being said, all right, well, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you? I know you got some good podcasts out there. Tell them all about it.
Yeah, I got a couple other podcasts I do, movie podcasts with my buddy AJ, Small Screeners, where we talk about direct-to-video and made-for-TV movies, and we also have one called Because Movies, where we kind of just focus on whatever we want movie-wise. You can find those on your podcatcher of choice.
Ladies and gentlemen, check out the rest of the Source Material Comics podcast feed. Unspoken Issues here, where we deal with 90s comics primarily. Lots of episodes out there for that. And then we have the Source Material Comics podcast proper. All sorts of fun stuff going on over there. Me and Mark Radulich talk comics of just about any era, and other people join us as well. And then we have the Marvel Snap adjacent podcast, which is called Snap Material. Me and Evan Bevins get together and talk about Marvel Snap. So if you play that game on your mobile device, please feel free to check it out. And with that being said, we are getting out of here. How are you sending them out of here, Chris?
We'll see you guys next year. And later this year as well.
That's right. Perfect.